So, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me today for the next 16 minutes. I'm your host, Andy Gilbert. And what we're going to be doing today is either introducing you to or refreshing you with some really fantastic thinking tools designed to help you think bigger, better, and bolder. So, what are we going to be covering? I'll tell you what I'm going to do before we start, just while we wait for a few more people to join us. I'm just going to share a tiny about M.A.D thinking. Okay, I'll let you read that for yourself, or if you're looking at that on the phone, I'll just prompt you with a few things. Firstly, one thing to say is if you are brand new to the world of M.A.D thinking, M.A.D stands for Go Make a Difference. It's a rallying call for improvement, change. It's not about staying the same. So we're in our 25th anniversary year, celebrating on the 25th of every month as we go through our silver anniversary. We've worked around the world in over 40 countries now, still counting. And we basically teach people, help people to apply thinking strategies so that they can act in a better way and get better results. That's what it's about. So, as we go into today's session, I just need to know a few quick things about you and the rest of the participants on here, just so I can tailor my stories and my examples to meet your needs. Let's just do a quick poll and let me launch that. I'm just interested in knowing what is your current level of M.A.D knowledge and experience? And you can answer as many of those as you want there. Just let me know, and that will be really helpful. Okay. And what I do is I normally wait for about 80% or more people to complete this, and then we'll see what it looks like. So it's looking at the moment that wow, 50% have got no experience at all. Welcome for that. 40% have been referred by a colleague. 15% have attended a webinar before. Welcome back. Just over 20% have watched my TEDx video. If you haven't seen it already, it's free. Just go. We'll put a link for that from our website. But that's about the art of making a difference, and that's a great one to share with colleagues as well. 15% have read at least one of my books, and 26% have completed at least one day of M.A.D. So right, got a real mixture on here. Thank you for that. Let's just end that, and I will just get that ready. It's the second poll I just want to do with you in a second. But firstly, I just want to share what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be doing 10 practical exercises. Okay, so I do hope you have got your pen and paper ready. It's going to be interactive, and I'll explain about that in a second. But we're going to be looking at 3 ways to really stretch your own thinking and that of your colleagues by thinking bigger. We're going to look at how you can think better, and I'm going to introduce you to a couple of really practical and powerful frameworks. Then what we're going to do is I've got a great probability exercise for you, just to assess whether or not you really are going to make that difference or not, and you'll get some great feedback from that. And then we're going to look at how daring you can be about thinking bolder. Now, the more you participate, the more chances there are that you'll win prizes. Oh, we've got Q&A. We'll have questions and answer at any stage, but the more you interact with me, the more chance you do have of winning prizes. I'm sure you're used to this by now. If you've got questions for me, please put them in the questions box, and that will pop up right in front of me here so I can see it. Now, I use 2 screens, so if you see me look slightly that way, this is where the chat happens. And Jade is my right-hand person today, who will be chatting to you. If I drop a reference to anything, she'll do that. And we're going to pause several times and do some interactive exercises. And this is where I'm going to ask you to do some assessments for yourself, get creative with some ideas, and you'll just put those away in chat. So I'll remind you as we go. So, final poll. I'm just curious about what your current role is, okay? How would you describe yourself in working as an exec leader, team leader, functional, project leader. Maybe you've got your own business. We very often have some consultants on here. Maybe you're not a leader, but you're just curious about it. So just let me know which one best describes your role. Just one single choice there. It's quite evenly split at the moment, actually. Just wait for, okay, we're at that 80% level now. So 29% functional leaders, 38% team leaders, 17% project leaders, and 17% consultants on here today. Okay, no executive leaders, that's fine. Thank you very much for participating in that. That just tells me where I'm going to pitch it at. Okay, great. Let's get on. Let's get on. Thinking bigger. Now that's really where we're going to start from here. So I'm going to share two models with you today. And the first model that I'm going to share with you is a model for how we think. Thinking effectiveness model, we call this. And this is when we think in our head and we predominantly do four things. Sometimes those four things we do in our head are really helpful. It's like we're our own best friend. And sometimes those four things that we do inside our head are hindering and preventing us from progressing as effectively as we could. And that's sometimes, we can be our own worst enemy. So I'm going to introduce you to these four things one by one, and we're going to pause and do a little exercise or two. So when we think to ourselves, we talk to ourselves. Sometimes we talk to ourselves in questions, and sometimes we talk to ourselves in statements. So this self-talk, psychologists have somehow calculated that we do this on average about every 11 seconds. And if you're going, oh, I don't think I do, Andy, you just have been. Now, the question is, are you talking to yourself in a helpful way, full of really helpful questions, right? Full of really helpful statements about yourself, about others, or are your questions not as high quality as they could be? So we're going to test this with two 1-minute exercises here, okay, just about our goals, okay. So if we set a goal at, let's say we're going to do a fundraising event, right? And we have a very modest goal that what we're going to do is we are going to fundraise for a charity or a humanitarian cause of our choice, okay? And we just set our goal as £100 or $100, because I know we've got some people on from the USA today, or whatever currency of your choice, 100 units, okay? Here's the question for you. And I'd like you to write your answer as fast as you can, as many answers as you can in 1 minute, okay? And I'll time you. Here's the question. For charity or a humanitarian cause, how could I possibly raise £100? Okay, off you go. Your time starts now in the chat. And what I'll do is I'll read them out as we go. Remember, the more you participate, the more chance to win prizes. So off we go. So coming in, fundraising, a coffee morning. Thanks, Lorenda, for being the first. Ask neighbours, says Katie. Advertise on my social media, share with friends and colleagues, a coffee morning, a raffle, send it myself, run a marathon, another raffle, do a challenge, sponsored walk, a cake sale, give time for free, fundraising from my closed friends, sponsored walk, ask in the street, climb a mountain, garage sale, sit in baked beans, love that one, run a marathon, work colleagues, shave hair, shave head. Who in my team has ideas and suggests? What do they suggest? How do? Oh, it's gone too quickly. Sell my possessions, says Katie. Right, stop there, stop. Great. Fantastic possibility thinking. Thank you. Right, we're just going to change the question and we're going to change the goal. So I'm going to just reset my stopwatch here. Okay. So now let's imagine instead of £100, we set our goal quite a bit higher. So the statement now comes, I want to raise £100,000 for charity. Okay, so just get thinking, because the question is now this: how could I possibly raise £100,000 or dollars or units of currency for a charity? Your time starts now. Off you go. Okay. Organize a dinner, make something to sell, seek corporate sponsorships, auction, GoFundMe page, 26 marathons in 26 days, auctions, more smart, social media, get a high profile influencer, get businesses involved to be their charity of the year. Salma says, recruit 100 people to join your cause, get them to raise £1,000 each. A bigger raffle, ask a famous dude, says Katie. Repeat fundraising, generate a network group, set up a long-term business exchange for charity, year-long exercise, product, ride around the world, says Anthony, sports competition, influencers, organized stakeholders, GoFundMe. Right, stop there. Okay. Oh, pause. Hey, we've got some great possibility thinkers on today. Thank you for your contributions. Okay. Now, here's a serious point that I want to make. All of the things that you've just said would raise £100,000. They would also raise £100, wouldn't they? But actually, not all of the things you said for £100 would raise £100,000. So if we want to think bigger, two of the things that we could do to help us think bigger is, one, have bigger goals. Okay, the brain will start to go in search of a question related to that goal. So if you want to think bigger, change the phraseology of your question. All right, there's a big difference when the brain goes, how could I get 100 units, as opposed to how could I possibly get 100,000 units. So think about yourself and think about your teams, because we've got a lot of team leaders and functional leaders here. The question for you is, how high are you thinking, and how high are your people thinking, or how big are your people thinking? And it might just be shifting that goal or shifting that question could give them some insights. Okay, so Sarah's just asked a question. So sorry, I had to answer the door and missed where to put comments, here or in the chat. Put them there. Okay, we'll come back to you, Sarah. A bit of catching up to do, but thanks for posting the question. Right, I remember I said there are 4 elements to how we think. We talk to ourselves in statements and questions, but we also think in pictures as well. And one of the things we do is we remember the past. Okay, sometimes that can be helpful and sometimes it can be hindering, right? But if you want to think bigger, why not think back to the past of those bigger achievements, those most helpful achievements in terms of your teams? Get them to remember when they achieved some great success in the past. But we don't just think in the past, do we? Where else do we think? We imagine. We imagine the future. We imagine what's going to happen to us, what's going to happen to our families, what's going to happen to other people we care about. We're imagining things. So why not think bigger? Why not imagine bigger? Why not remember bigger? Why not set our goals bigger, right? Why not ask questions that cause us to think bigger? Because if we change our thinking, we are more likely to act in accordance with that thinking. And as a result of those bigger or better actions, we're more likely to get bigger or better results. So let's look at the links between these. By the way, if you've got any questions about anything that I'm covering, please ask them and I'll do my best to answer them during this session. If not, either myself or one of the team will get back to you afterwards. So let's have a look at the links between them. Because if we're asking questions, good, helpful questions about the past, things like maybe, who's helped me in the past? Ah, now that's raised people to my awareness, okay? What about if we're asking questions about the future? Questions could be, for example, how could I possibly overcome that? what might possibly get in the way? I'm now building my awareness. So awareness and understanding are the real purpose of our questions. How can I build greater understanding and awareness to either help myself or to help others? But what about when we make statements? If we make statements about the past and we repeat those statements, they can become beliefs. Beliefs about yourself, beliefs about situations, okay? Now they can be helpful, enabling beliefs, or they could be limiting beliefs. So think carefully about what you say about yourself, because that's probably in relation to your past. If you ever find yourself going, actually, I'm not very good at, that's just based on a memory that you're repeating, okay? So think about how you can phrase things in a helpful way. Now, when we talk about the future and we make statements, these are our expectations. So I expect something to happen. They could become goals. They could become vision statements. There are different types of goals, and we'll come on to those later. So all of this is basically our neck-top computer, right? That is asking questions, making statements, responding, imagining, remembering. And if we really want to think bigger, better, bolder, we need to take control of our neck-top computer and start noticing the voices in our head, what we're imagining, maybe challenging ourselves, challenging others to think bigger, better, and bolder. So, quick summary. Main things here. I know there's 4 in this model, but if we want to think bigger, imagine bigger, state bigger goals, and ask better questions, if you can only pick one of those for yourself, number 1, number 2, or number 3, which would it be? Please put that in chat now, and we'll see if there's a bit of a trend or a theme going. So just number 1, number 2, or number 3. Oh, there is a massive trend. Wow. 3, 3, 3. Ask better questions. Ask better questions. Questions. Imagine bigger. Imagine bigger. 3 is a winner by miles. And you know what? I'm pleased about that, because I genuinely think that questions are the answer. Hang on a sec. Just bear with me. I've just thought of something I'm going to show. I'm just going to disappear. This is a great book. I really recommend it. Questions Are the Answer, okay, by Hal Gregerson. Really good about the power of questions. So anyway, where were we? So 3 is one outright. Okay, we'll come back to that, asking better questions in a bit. Let's move on to thinking better. Right, you now need a pen and paper, because what I'm going to share with you is the output of the biggest piece of research that I conducted, and I led a team going back to 1997, 1998, about how people make a difference and apply natural success principles. And the outcome of that were 7 key principles. So if you just want to jot this diagram down, this is what I'm best well known for, and this is known as the results framework, okay? And I'm going to take you through those 7 key principles, and we're going to apply them to 2 examples of your choice. One's going to be a work-related example, and one's going to be a non-work-related example for a little bit of contrast. And therefore, you get to think about these 7 key principles in the context of 2 things of your choice. So I'm now going to ask you to draw down this little grid, box A and box B, and then 6 boxes underneath it. Because what I'm going to do is, after I've explained each principle, the first 6 of them, I'm going to pause and ask you to do a self-assessment, okay? And I'll explain how that self-assessment works when we get to it, okay? But for now, please just copy the diagram down. And then when you've done that, in box A, please just write for yourself a work-related example, something that you want to achieve. It might be a project that you're working on. It might be something new. It might be something you want to complete, or whatever it is. Just make it work-related. And then as a contrast, pick something totally non-work related. It could be to do with health and fitness. It could be to do with house, buying, decorating, anything, okay, as long as it's non-work related. When you've put those two things in box A and box B, please just let me know by typing yes into the chat. And when I get 3 or more yeses, I know we're ready to go. Thank you. We are ready to go. Good, good. So let's start with the first key principle, principle 1. And what I'm doing is I'm basically summarizing this book. I've written about 20 books or so. And this book, The Art of Making a Difference, is my best-selling book of about 300,000 copies. And it describes the 7 key principles. So principle 1. Have a strong reason why. Now, the background to this research is we did what was called a phenomenological study. That's the largest word that I'm going to use in this. But what we did was we studied the phenomena of people that successfully went from point A to point B. Okay, what were they naturally doing? And one of the things was they had a strong reason. This is about desire, it's about purpose, it's about motivation, it's about your fuel source, your energy. And this is about saying, you know, you're only going to achieve the things that you're really bothered about, because there's lots of things going on in life. And, you know, your time and attention and resources are fighting for the attention and will get diverted to the things that are most important. So it could be a towards motivation where you know what you want. It could be an away from motivation where you know what you don't want. But what it's saying is you have a level of desire. So here's the first assessment. In box 1, for A, your work-related example, just do an assessment. And we're going to use a 1 to 10 scale, where 10 is the most important thing in the world for you. There's nothing that motivates you more than that. So if what you've written in box A is the most important thing in your life, give yourself a 10. Or if you've only written something in box A because Andy's asked you to and you're not bothered, then put a 1 or somewhere in between. You decide. Be really honest with yourself. I'm not going to ask you to share this. You'll get the most from this exercise if you're really honest, perhaps even a little tough on yourself to get that realistic score. And then do the same for box B. Just assess that non-work related example, asking, in all honesty, how strong is my desire and motivation for this? Okay? In contrast to everything else that's going on. Put that. When you've done that, can you just put the number 1 in the chat? And I know that we're able to go further forward. Kate has put an amazing book, Questions Are the Answer. It is an amazing book. It's really great. Okay. Oh, actually, Kate, I don't know if you were talking about the Questions Are the Answer book or my book. They're both amazing. There you go. Right, here we go. We're now going to box 2. Okay. Principle 2 is about clarity. This is about having a clearly defined goal. Right. If you imagine that you're on a journey and this pen, there's your starting point and there's your end point. That's your goal. It really helps to know where you're going to, doesn't it? Or else you can end up over here or drift over there. So this is about clarity about your end goal. Now, there are 4 different types of goal, okay? We're not going to cover those here, but most people know about SMART goals, okay? But what did Martin Luther King say? He didn't say, I have a SMART goal, did he? He said, I have a dream. Okay, there are qualitative goals as well. There are umbrella goals. There's a whole toolkit about goals that as a manager, you need to understand which goal do I need for which specific situation. Okay, but the thing to remember is one thing about goals is they're very clear about what the end point is. So that's what we're going to assess. So if you now look at box B, and you see what you put in box B there, and we're going to look at the second box. I'm just going to invite you to assess to what extent do you have somewhere a clearly defined goal with an end date, absolute detail that I could audit you against. Okay, it's crystal clear, then you deserve a high score. However, if on the other hand, you've just got a vague notion in your head, it's not written down anywhere, there's no time scale, maybe it's not as clear as it could be, you need to adjust your score accordingly. So do that honestly in box 2. for your work-related goal and your non-work-related goal. Okay. By the way, you don't need to put your scores in the chat box to me here. That's fine. This is just yours. I'll share with you how to do an assessment at the end, and we'll post that so I can see. So when you've done that, please put number 2 in the chat box, and I know we're ready to go. Great. Let's keep moving. Now, I made a mistake when I published my first book. And the mistake that I made was to say that principle 3 was something other than self-belief. But now, having done this for 20 plus years, when I train this and teach it, I teach 3 key principles together. And the third of those key principles is self-belief. Okay, but this is actually going to go in box 4 on your grid. So just mark that as self-belief under number 4. Okay. So the reason I did that was I wrote them in a list, and then I published the book, and it became very popular, and I couldn't change the order. But just know that it forms a triangle. Self-belief is the stuff we were talking about earlier, about your helpful thoughts, about your hindering thoughts. It's the stuff that goes on in your head, okay? Whereas your reason why, you can say, is more your heart's desire, okay? And then we've got the clarity of the goal. All this is inside you. So we refer to this as the internal triangle, and that's why I teach it this way, okay? So helpful stuff, hindering stuff. This here is about the achievability, okay? How achievable is your goal? So remember I said in box 4, okay? Box 4, just right underneath self-belief. And I'm going to invite you to think like a seesaw here. Let's get this back, okay? If, as you think about what you want to achieve, you've got high self-belief, right? You'll have low self-doubt. But it might be, if you've got more hindering thoughts than helpful, you've got more self-doubt than self-belief. So I call this the self-belief seesaw, okay? So scale of 1 to 10. 10 is high, 1 is low. What is your current level of self-belief that you can achieve this thing by whenever you want to achieve it by? Just put that in box 4 for A and B. When you've done that, please put number 4 in the chat. Thank you, Lorinda. Lindsay, you were the first up. Let's carry on. Okay. Now, here's the missing box 3. And box 3 is about possibility thinking and then prioritizing those possibilities. Now, when we did the research, the question we asked ourselves was, you know, what are the natural principles that people are applying, okay, when they make a difference? Now, one of the things we noticed was that people were asking themselves questions, and we know how powerful they are, but they were asking questions about a set of 10 more common things. And these are things like, what possible tasks could I do? What resources could help me? People that I could involve, buy-in, you know, communicating. It was about obstacles. It was about risks. It was about overcoming them. It was about assumptions. Now, that gives you a pretty good toolkit for any goal or problem that you've got. So we call these the 10 possibility areas, right? But once you've generated a quantity, and sometimes when we're working with teams, we will go for, let's generate 100, let's generate 1,000 if we're doing big breakthrough, creative innovation thinking. It's about quantity, but based around the right questions. So if you've done that thinking for yourself, and then you've prioritized them, and then I'm going to introduce you to a third P. And that third P is about planning in time. So let's go to the assessment. I'm under box 3. Let's put 3 P's down here: possibilities, priorities, and planning in time, which means that if I looked in your diary or planner, I would see time allocated out. You'd do it for a holiday, wouldn't you? So why not do it for really important tasks? So do the assessment. Box A, work related. If you've thought of a wide quantity of possibilities and you've prioritized them and you've put time in your diary, give yourself a high score. If on the other hand, you've only thought of a few things, not really sorted out what's the most important, and there's nothing planned in your diary, adjust your score accordingly, because that's going to affect your probability of success. When you've done that, please put number 3 into the chat so I know you're ready. Jerry, you are hot on the button there. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. And we're to principle 5. Principle 5 is all about involving others. Okay, and I tell you what, we'll just do a little exercise here. Remember, the more you participate, the more chances you are of winning prizes. And we've got a fantastic prize today as part of our 25th anniversary celebrations. Okay, here's the question. If I was to ask you to think about groups of people that you could commonly involve to help you in whatever way, please just type in 1 or 2 categories of people that you could involve to help you, right? And let's see if there's a theme here. I am expecting a theme, by the way. Okay, stop where you are. It's already come up. We had 4 and oh, it's gone wild now, right? Everybody's saying friends, family, colleagues, not necessarily in that order, right? And I could predict that. The reason I could predict it is I've asked this question hundreds, thousands of times in the last 25 years, okay? When people think about who to involve, it's quite natural to go to people where you've got a recalled memory, people you live with, people you socialize with, people you work with, okay? The friends, the family, the colleagues. But actually, this is the most lateral thinking part of the whole thinking framework. It's who in the whole wide world could possibly add value to helping you achieve what you want, okay? Right? And then to what extent have you communicated what you want and gained their commitment, support, or buy-in, okay? Now, have you ever been to the movies and had a great idea? Maybe been inspired by something you might have read in the book. It might be fiction. It might be fact. Whoever wrote it might no longer be living, but that's about involving others. Dear Google, or other search engines are available. Is there anybody out there? Yes, just a few billion people that can help. That's about involving others. So this is thinking wider than perhaps teams would normally think. Right. Let's do the self-assessment. Box 5, involve others. As you look at what you've put in box A, your work-related goal, to what extent are you currently involving as many people that could add value, and you've secured their commitment and buy-in to help you? Give yourself a score there. And again, for your non-work related example, think about to what extent are you currently involving anybody, right, that could add value and you've secured their commitment. Okay. Sarah and Katie, you're pressing it so quickly. I know you want to win the prizes and you're really keen here. Jerry's up there as well. Anybody else for number 5? Anthony's in, Lindsay, great. Let's carry on. Principle 6. Principle 6 is taking personal responsibility. So what does that mean? It means that it's down to you and you're not going to blame anyone else. You're accountable. You've got choices. And you'll see that this relates to everything else here. Okay, that's not for today. That's a more advanced webinar. We'll come on to that. You could read books or watch some of the videos about that. But what it really means is saying, am I willing to take personal responsibility for this without blaming anyone or anything else? Okay, I'm prepared to be accountable. If you're in a leadership role, that's about role modeling to others. And it's about making choices about who to involve, choices about the time that you spend doing this, choice about the clarity, choice about whether you do something in your own head to affect your own thinking, choices, right, about whether to park something because other things are more important or continue. So let's do the assessment. Box 6, as you look at your work-related example, to what extent are you taking personal responsibility? Not blaming the government, the weather, the economic situation, absolutely anything. You're going, what can I do to do this? And again, for box B, to what extent are you taking personal responsibility? The 6s are coming up. You know the game now. Great stuff. Good, good, good. Right. Before we go into the blank box at the end, and I just do a little probability exercise with you here, I want to share the 7th. So far, what we've talked about is thinking and planning, right? But what we really need to do is to make sure that thoughts turn into actions, actions turn into results. Thinking, action, results, in that order. And if we're taking actions, we should be able to measure the results. And of course, if we've got a clearly defined goal at the start, we can measure our progress. Now, if for whatever reason you're not achieving the results you want, this is where you go to the heart of the framework and you say, right, I'm not getting the results that I want. I've got choices. Let's choose to involve some different people. Let's choose to do some more possibility thinking or reprioritize or plan more time in. You might even choose to redefine your goal or break it down into smaller chunks. You might choose to think about your thinking components, think more helpfully, ask better questions, imagine more, remember more, okay? So you've got choices. Now, let's go back. So what are we going to do with this blue box? Get a calculator or get your phone out at this point, please. And I'm going to invite you to multiply, not add, multiply every digit you've put in every box by the next box. So you should have 6 digits in here. Remember, the lowest score is a 1. If you put a 0 in there, please change it to a 1, okay? And you're going to multiply the number that you put in the first box by the number in the second box, by the number in the third, times 4th, times the 5th box, times whatever number you put in the 6th box, and you will come out with a number. Put that number in the blue box at the end, please. And likewise, when you've done that, go on to your non-related example and just write down the number multiplied by the next one, by the next, and put that in the second blue box. When you've done that, please put in, what word should we have? We're not going to put a number here. Let's put calculate in. When you've done that, type in calculate, please. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to calculate your probability of success. Sarah was first, John, Alicia, great, okay. We're ready to do some calculations. Okay, now, if you would put a 10 in every box, 10 to the power of 6 is 1 million. So whatever number you've put there, your score is out of 1 million. Now, I'm going to share with you how quickly to convert this to a percentage without using your calculator. There's a little cheat here that we can do, okay? And the cheat is we're going to count in 4 digits from the right-hand side. So in a million here, we put the decimal point just there, like there, and that would be 100%. Does it make sense? Okay. Now, if you've got a 6-digit number, you'll have to count in 4, so that would be 12.6, like so. If you've got a 4-digit number, count in, you're going to have to put the decimal point right at the front. So that would be 0.2%. If you've got less than a 4-digit number, you'll need to put a 0 in front of it, or 2 zeros, or 3 zeros. So you've got less than 1% there. Okay, so can you please now just do your calculations? Okay, count in 4, put the decimal point there and in there. And then in the chat box, please, could you put whatever you've got for number A equals X%, B equals Y%, whatever it is, 2 numbers in there, just so I can see. There's no points, by the way, or prizes for highest and lowest numbers. I just want to see what numbers people are putting. This is going quite fast now. Percentages. Okay. Okay, by the way, relax. People are putting some percentages in here that are less than 1%. So if that's you, you are not on your own. Okay. I'm just scrolling up because I've got quite a few people on today and looking at those numbers. Okay, I can see, right, I think I've got the highest there. Right, if you've scored over 15% here, that's a high score, believe it or not. and relax if you scored under 1%. There are many other people just like yourself. Now, why did I ask you to multiply them rather than add them? Well, the answer is there's a multiplier effect here, because if you haven't got a reason why and can't be bothered, and you score that as a 1, doesn't matter how clear your goal is, does it? It's going to be a compounding effect. And if you don't bother involving anybody and you attempt to do everything yourself, that's going to have an impact as well. Now, this is a very quick and crude probability exercise. And there's some good news and not so good news. Okay, the not so good news is that you might be looking at a score that is less than you would want. But remember, this is just very quick, very crude probability that says if you do nothing further today, this is the crude probability of you achieving something. But here's the good news. You have a choice. You can choose to do more if you choose. And the good news is you've just got some instant feedback. So have a look at your scores here, okay? I know that we could get you to a 10 with just a 2 or 3 minute conversation to get clarity about what you want. We can help you do some great possibility thinking around those 10 possibility areas and really get a higher score. Just doing those 2 things is likely to improve your self-belief. We could really focus on that involving others, thinking creatively about who they are, how you could find them, how you could communicate, how you could get their buy-in. Okay? We could look at the choices you have and where you spend your time and the planning as well. The only thing we can't really help you so much with is what you put in box 1, which is your reason why. Okay. So even if you've got really high scores in all those, but you're not bothered, you're going to have a low probability. So I hope that helps you to understand where you can do a deep dive. Because although we use framework as a development framework, we also use it as a diagnostic framework to look at situations that are currently in progress, or as an analytical framework to look at the past. Why weren't we successful? And there will always be clues there. So I'm going to share with you a diagram here to simplify this, and just take yourself around this really quickly. Okay. What results am I looking to achieve, and what's the strongest reason? Start with the why and the what there. Then we can go to how confident am I about what I want to achieve. Then we can do some possibility thinking around those 10 areas. Then we can sort out our important priorities and think about key stakeholders, about those that we definitely want to involve there and how we could get their buy-in. We can sort out all those key tasks, right? Build an action plan on who's responsible for what, and then we review our plan on an ongoing basis. That's basically a whiz through how you can use that as a self-coaching and a self-planning tool for your team. Now, I just want to share one thing with you on this whole thing about thinking better. And that is, what if you have a problem, not a goal, but a problem? And one of the tools that we use is packs of cards. And this has been particularly useful in the last couple of years for people working from home. They spread the cards out in front of them. And all of these cards relate to those 7 key principles. And you'll see that we've got things about defining goal, the different goal defining techniques here. Then we get onto the red cards and we start looking at possibility thinking. So I want to share one with you from the diamonds that are all about creative thinking. And this is one of my favorite problem solving techniques. Not for now, but just make a note of it so you can help yourself. If you've got a problem in your head, you're probably phrasing it as a statement. Here's a common one. I don't have enough time to do X. Okay. What you then do is you turn it into a question, not a statement. The question is to be phrased in a particular way, right? It's got to start with how, what, or who, and it's got to contain the words possibly, might, or could. So my question could be, how could I possibly find more time? Who could I possibly involve to help me with project X? Okay, what could I possibly do to free up more time? So all of those are good questions, and then you answer them rapidly, 20 different ways, as fast as you can. And I guarantee you that after number 10 and before number 20, fresh new thinking will come into your mind, right? And you'll get breakthroughs. Now, imagine if you were doing that in team meetings. Imagine if everybody in your organization could move from a problem to a solution that quickly. Normally takes 5 to 7 minutes to do. So that's my gift for you there. So let's move on to thinking bolder. That was one question. Let's go to the next one. I've selected 5 of diamonds. Okay. What if there were no constraints? Let's just put this up. What if you had to find a solution, right? What if you did have the ability? And now the key thing is here is for a short period of time, maybe 5, no more than 10 minutes max, is you suspend logic and current beliefs, especially if you're in a team scenario, and help your team to think bigger, better, and bolder. Okay, you just say, right, ground rules are in the next 5 minutes, anything goes. We just have to pretend what if, imagine what if. Okay, go into the depths of our resources and memories and go, well, we could possibly this. Just 5 to 10 minutes of possibility thinking, right? And you'll start thinking of new things. I use this a lot on innovation and breakthrough workshops. Let's have a look at another one. Change your word. This is a nice, simple one. What this basically says is, remember, the phraseology of questions is really important. You might have, for example, what might the easiest possible solution be? Okay. Now, ease is different from simple. So it is the simplest possible solution. Okay. It might be what's the most outrageous possible solution. It could be what's the quickest possible solution. Notice I'm just changing a word or two and it creates another question. So just play around with that. Okay. And see, how bold you dare be. Couple of more here. The 10 of spades. This is a good one. Remember we talked about the reason why and self-assessing our reason why. Okay, what are you prepared to do differently or sacrifice in order to achieve your goal? Wow, that's a really focusing your mind question, isn't it? Okay. By the way that we design these cards, all the black card questions are designed to focus your mind with the way that they're phrased, and all the red card questions are designed to open your mind to possibilities. So sometimes when we're working strategically, we might start with black card questions, right, to get the project scope, the plan, the goals, the ambitions, and then open our mind up with red card questions. Okay. But interestingly, this red card question, notice it contains the word possibly, so it's designed to open our minds. It says, what public pledge could you possibly make that might strengthen your motivation to succeed? A public pledge, you are more likely to act in accordance with it. Okay, it takes that bit of boldness, a bit of bravery to make it. I remember a few years ago I was working in financial services, and I was working with an insurance team, and there were 7 or 8 of them in the team, and the team leader was saying, okay, I'm going to make a personal pledge. And then one of the other guys said, and we work a lot with 30, 60 and 90-day goals as a continuous improvement method. And they were working on a 60-day goal. And he said, this is what I'm going to do. I pledge that if I don't achieve this goal in 60 days, okay, my tickets for the World Series, right, this is baseball in America, right, I will not publicly in front of you. Wow, they knew he was a baseball fan. They really got keen for that, but it didn't half strengthen his resolve. And it takes a boldness to actually do that. What are you prepared to do? Right. Let us do a little bit of thinking and reflection. We've covered a lot of things so far. So here's a quick summary slide for you. Okay. We've covered the first 3, and you've told me your numbers there. Have a look at the better. I'm going to invite you. You can only pick one thing, number 4, 5, or 6. What would it be that's the most useful for you to take away? Is it applying that results framework, the 7 key principles? There it is on the back of the box. Okay. Is it about applying it to diagnose the weaker areas? Is it about asking the better questions in a coaching way linked to that framework? Or is it that technique of just taking a problem into a solution, focus question, answering it 20 times? What's the best one there? Number 4, 5, or 6? Come on, let's enter what you're taking over. See if there's a trend. I'm getting 5s and 6s mainly, with the occasional 4. 5, I think, is taking it. Okay, it seems to be, it's fairly even balance there between 4 and 5. Okay, now let's have a look at the next one then. We talked about boldness. Which of those? I know I covered them quite quickly for you, but I want to give you the opportunity to ask questions about anything. So that what if scenario, suspending the logic, what if we could do that? Or designing bolder questions, or thinking bolder, increasing the strength of your public by making a public pledge. Which of those do you think would serve you best? Number 7, number 8, number 9. Okay, 9s are winning this. Public pledges. Number 7's coming on strong. What if scenarios? So it's between number 7 and number 9. Okay, right. Thank you for that. We have 8 or 9 minutes left. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. It can be about anything that we've covered here. We can go back over that thinking effectiveness framework, those 4 things that we do in a helpful or hindering way. We can look at the 7 key principles of the results framework. Okay, we can look at how you can apply this for yourself, for your team, or for your organization. Absolutely anything. Okay, and if I can't answer the question today, I will find out the answer for you and get back to you. So please put questions into the questions box, not the chat one. Sarah has put up, are the cards available to buy? Yes, they are. You can buy them from our website, and they also come with a very handy QR code on one of the jokers. And if you scan the QR code, there's 4 training videos on there about how to use the cards. So you can get those from there. And I think actually at the moment, they're at a discount because we are going to be selling them as a coaching package with a book, but I don't think we put that up there. Okay. Elisa, do you do leadership development workshops? Yes, it's one of the main things that we do is leaders. And when we do leadership development workshops, you know what? We give them all a pack of cards and we look for the right questions. And you know what I found is the more senior the people are, the more they love playing cards. I can think back to a couple of years ago, we were doing a great big strategic workshop for a global organization. They'd flown people in from around the world for a couple of days. And the group CEO was there and he had a pack of cards and he got so excited by looking at some of the diamond, the creative cards. He goes, I've got a brilliant question. I want all the group to answer it. And I'm going, Graham, no, that's for tomorrow. Today we're on black. Oh, please, can I ask this question? Right. It was fantastic. But this is how you can get people. And I have a little mantra about what's the right question at the right time for the right person. And that could be you. In fact, what we've been doing, because I mentioned it's our 25th business anniversary, what I've done for the last 8 months is look back over all the best practices around the 300 plus organizations we worked around the world to say, what are the 25 best practices that make the greatest difference to transform results and enable change? Okay. Yesterday, a new pack of cards arrived, right, that contain the 50 most common problems that managers have and which of the 25 best practices to apply. They are not for sale. But that's a very long answer to your question, only because I haven't got any more questions here, is that we've got a Transforming Results Enabled Change program for up to 25 leaders in an organization. And if you're interested in that, just put TREC, T-R-E-C, in the chat box, and Jade or one of the team will come back to you and we'll explain all about that. Okay, right. Other questions. Right, Dave's put, how often should I apply the frame? Oh, I know something we do. Dave, I'll come back to your question. What we've got to do is give the prizes away, and Jade's got to calculate this. So a prize. This is our prize. We have a program coming up. Actually, I think that one is full now. I tell you what, it's either an online program or 4 days of our solution-focused thinking program, our flagship program. It's worth 2,750. We're going to give one away free today. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to pick a number. I'm looking at how many people we've got on. Can you type in a number, please, between 1 and 40, and the first person to put a number in, that is the number we are going to pick. Number 25 says Sarah. Okay, so Jade, can you count down the 25th contribution we had? And we're going to also give away one of our digital courses. And our digital course, we're going to give away the Stretch digital online program, Thinking Bigger, Better, Bolder. Can we have a number, please, between 41 and 80? 41 and 80, 67 says Katie. Great. Okay. Oh, John also said 67. Well, it's definitely that. 67 and whatever the first one was, Jade, and we'll have 2 prize winners for today. Okay. While Jade's calculating and counting down everybody's contributions today and who's registered, etc., let's answer that. Dave had a question: how often do you use the Go Mad framework? The answer is as often as you need to. It's not just for big projects. I've got it on a coaster in front of me. I'm always playing with a pack of cards. Sometimes I will just do a little bit of it and go in and just do some thinking about goals, or I'll get the hearts cards and just look at those 10 possibility areas, ace to 10 of hearts, just to remind myself. I might be coaching somebody. I might have a client. I might be coaching somebody in a different country, and I might have some cards spread out with me in front of me and using them. So little and often is my best advice to you. Okay. Katie said, do you only work with big organizations? No, I mean, we work with teams. So most of our work is done with teams, but sometimes those teams multiply into large organizations. So the largest organization we've worked with had over 50,000 people. We most commonly work with organizations of 1,000 or more, but we will, I'm working with a team at the moment in an organization of 60 people, privately owned, and we're working with their leadership team and some of their leaders in there. So I hope that helps. If you need any help, just ask. Okay, time to draw the winners, Andy, says Jade. Okay, excited, says Katie. You can't win, Katie. You suggested number 67. Who are the winners, Jade? The winner of a place on our solution-focused thinking program is Debbie Hodgson from Iceland Foods. And, oh, Jade, you've been very generous here. Kate Roberts from Viapath. Well, we've obviously got 2 places available on that. So there you go. Oh, the winner of the Stretch digital course is Sarah Chadwick from West Yorkshire Health and Care Partnership. Okay, well done to all of you. We'll be in touch with the details. Final questions, please put them in now. We've got 2 minutes. I just want to alert you to a new webinar I'm running in a couple of weeks' time. We're doing it twice. This is a brand new one. I haven't done it before. Over the course of the last 2 years, we've had a regular 9 or 10 that I've done, but problem solving made easy is what I'm going to be covering. So if you'd like an invite to that, Jade will send you the details and you can just do it. They're free. Involve friends, family, colleagues, the more the merrier, and it will be great. So what else? Any feedback for me? Please give me feedback in there. If you've got any questions for me, please put that in the questions. If you're interested in the Trek and our 25th celebrations for leaders and doing that, please put Trek in there. That's it. It's 59 minutes. I think I've got about 30 seconds. Thank you, Anthony. Brilliant and energizing as always. Great. I will catch you later. Linda, excellent webinar, interesting. Thank you for your time. Right, that's it. I can't go. I've got no questions left to answer. Really insightful. Thank you all, says Alicia. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Helen. Really enjoyed it. I'm glad that you did. Many thanks. Many thank you, Gillian, as well. Okay, as the time draws towards 12 o'clock, get ready. Go and have some lunch. 12 o'clock, we are here. Okay, we always finish on time. Thank you for being here. I hope you'll join us on another webinar, and please get in touch if you need anything. As always, stay safe, take care. As my mother always taught me to say, thank you for having me. And as my father always taught me to say, go make a difference. Okay, take care. Cheers.